Hey friends, welcome to a special Laity Space webinar. We are talking about the Wesleyan Heritage Pilgrimage that we are taking with a specific invitation to laity. And I'm here with Bishop Tom Berlin so we can talk about some of the details, but also talk about the heart behind this trip. Bishop Berlin, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm great, Derrick. Thanks so much. Great to be with you.
Oh, so good to be with you, sir. So a few months ago, maybe even close to a year ago, we were having a meeting, me and you, Alex Shanks and Warren Pattison, and I brought this idea that I thought was kind of crazy. I wasn't really sure what you were going to do with it, but I was like, you know, we take these Wesleyan Heritage tours all the time with the clergy. They're great. The clergy come back and they're just fired up and they have a deeper understanding of our Wesleyan heritage and the story of John Wesley specifically and his ministry. What would it be like if we took a Wesleyan heritage tour, a pilgrimage even, but it was specifically for the laity? And I honestly, sir, was not expecting your response, but you jumped at this idea and well, do you remember some of what you said when I brought the idea to you?
Yeah, and Derrick, we're looking at now a trip with, potential of 40 lay people. We'd love for those lay people to be from the Florida Conference. And I think this is a great trip for anyone who has a deep interest in their faith, a deep interest in their Wesleyan heritage, and an interest in leadership and thinking about what is the church called to be today. We're in a really confusing time on just trying to figure out what are we supposed to be doing right now. And I think a way to think about that is to go back and look at the heritage of the early Methodist movement. And by going to these locations in England, places like Bristol, places like London, and to see even where the Wesleys, grew up and where they were educated. As you do that, you start to understand the influences that form them. And I've done this with a local church, and I know lay people gain a tremendous amount of the conversation that arises, the experience, but also just the knowledge that's gained.
Yeah, I was so grateful, not just for your openness, but your desire to be with us on this trip. And so we started working on planning and talking with James Ridgway at Educational Opportunities, who's going to join us in a few minutes. Worked on a facilitator who will be Brett Opalinski, who's also going to join us in a moment. But we were in a meeting, you and I, talking about some of these details. And you specifically said to me, Derrick, I really want us to think about this opportunity as a pilgrimage, not as a tour, not as like a sightseeing trip, but as a pilgrimage. Could you just quickly sort of talk to us and share a little bit of why pilgrimage matters as we think about this opportunity in front of us?
Yeah, I think that word really does matter. It's not just a tour, right? If you want to take a tour of Britain and even a Wesleyan tour, I'm sure that can be found. We want something that really integrates our faith deeply. We want something where people are looking at scripture, they're in times of prayer, they're thinking about their local congregation and our conference as well. And I'd like to do that in such a way that when people finish, they say, you know what, this was actually an important spiritual experience. This is something that helped me grow closer to Christ, closer to other Christians, and really understand the orientation of my church. And I've just had lay people say to me before that last component, oddly, when people understand the historical orientation of their church and the things the Wesleys were working with and the early Methodists were working for, both evangelism, but also issues of justice, it just makes a huge difference in your own ability to assimilate that into your faith.
Oh, man, I'm really looking forward to this. I really think particularly a lay-focused pilgrimage is going to awaken so many of our lay leaders to the grace that has always been a part of our story as Methodists and participants in the Wesleyan movement. And I think it's going to offer us some chances to prepare ourselves for this, as well as to think about how we return and how we sort of deepen these learnings that we'll have on this pilgrimage.
And Derrick, we'll use all the time. You're not going to be bombarded when you go, but we're going to use the time well. Like on the bus, we'll do devotions. And we'll go to the events, and with Dr. Opalinski coming, with Brett coming, you're going to have an expert, a Wesleyan expert who's going to be there with you to lecture, to talk about what was happening at the time. You'll get the historical background, you'll get the theological background. I'm going to help with that. Derrick, I assume that you're going to be participating as well in different ways.
Yeah.
So you're going to hear multiple voices, different perspectives, but then we'll have time some evenings, not every evening, because some evenings people just want to relax, right? They just want to enjoy themselves. But some evenings we're going to have some discussion time where you can reflect on this. And so these components, when well used, really make the most of all of your time. And you're also going to have time to relax. You're going to have time to see some beautiful things in England. So I don't want you to think it's a working vacation at all. It's an opportunity, though, for learning and growth. And if you like to learn, you're going to be one of the people who wants to be one of the 40.
I think we got to get to the details. I think we need to dive into this information because I think people are already ready to learn more about this great opportunity. So we're going to go grab Brett and James and be right back. Okay, so we're going to get right to the details of this pilgrimage. I'm so excited to have joining the bishop and I, the Reverend Dr. Brett Opalinski, as well as our good friend James Ridgway. And so, Brett, let's start with you. Just tell us a little bit about you and your background, where you're currently serving right now, and then just take us right into sort of your intentions for this pilgrimage.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Derrick. So as Derrick said, my name is Brett Opalinski, and I'm a United Methodist pastor from the Florida Annual Conference. And I have had the joy of serving at different churches across the annual conference. And now I currently serve at Candler School of Theology, where I'm the Assistant Dean of Methodist Studies. And I also teach in Methodist Studies, as well as courses in discipleship and spiritual formation. I'm really excited about this trip, Derrick, for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons is that the early Methodist movement, it came about not so much as a argument over doctrine or disagreement over that kind of thing, but it was really a discipleship movement. This movement of lay persons who wanted to embody and live out the way of Jesus Christ in very real and meaningful ways in everyday life. And the way the early Methodists not only transformed individual lives, but went on to transform all of society at that time is just such a powerful witness. And I think it really gives us a model for how to practice our Christian faith today.
Man, Brett, I was in a conversation with Reverend Debbie Allen, who runs the Office of Clergy Excellence in the Florida Conference. And I was just talking about this pilgrimage, and we're focusing on lay folk and wanting to make sure we have a good number of lay folk on this pilgrimage. And I was like, Debbie, we just need to make sure we have a facilitator that can really sort of help us. And there's so many great people in our connection, so many scholars, Wesleyan scholars, even in the Florida Conference. And I just didn't even know where to start. And Debbie was like, well, Derrick, if you are going to have someone lead this, you got to think about Brett. And that was literally the first name that she brought to the table. And so when I reached out to you and asked you, I just wasn't sure if you had the space of time. That's, end of September, October, beginning of a fall semester. And I was just so grateful that you were willing. Your yes was, at least I remember your yes being pretty quick to this invitation. So thank you so much for being willing to join us and lead us in this pilgrimage. So I'm curious, Brett, as you think about those few days that we're going to have in England, what are some of the things that you are already imagining we might see and things we might talk about?
Yeah. So I think right off the bat, I think going in and visiting these places, it gives you such a different perspective on the people that were there, the thinking that was behind it, and all of the things that were happening in the world all around them that gave rise to early Methodism. And I think one of the things that does is it really helps us to think about, okay, what is our unique place in this time, in this age? And so you sort of go to these sites and you learn about Wesley, you learn about the early Methodists, but at the same time, you're also looking at it through the lens of, well, who is God calling me and who is God calling us as the church to be today? So that's one of the things I'm most excited about And I love the language of pilgrimage here because Bishop Berlin is so right. This is so much more than just going to visit places. We are going with a sense of openness to the Holy Spirit of what is God going to show us by exploring these stories, by learning about these people, by reading and studying and maybe learning a bit more about John and Charles Wesley and their family and the background that shaped them, as well as some of the early Methodist lay people that were so instrumental in the movement. Going to the places like the New Room, where these early Methodists were really embodying this discipleship way of Christian faith. And to see these places, I think there is something about sacred place. And when you go, it helps us to get a clearer sense of what God is doing in our lives and in the church today.
You know, Brett, when you take that pilgrimage, I have found lay people who have said two things. One, everything makes more sense from the words of our hymns. You know, those great Charles Wesley hymns start to make more sense.
Yes.
All the way out, I had one woman on a trip on a pilgrimage like this, and she said, "That's why our church is like it is." And I said, yes. They start to understand the underlying values that have actually come through for, a few hundred years now.
I remember one of the first times I visited in London to Wesley Chapel, and I had a great opportunity to be in Wesley's house. It was a day that was very quiet. I was able to be in there by myself, and there's a little prayer room just off of the bedroom, and to have the opportunity to go and to see the space that Wesley had dedicated to prayer, it was so helpful for me to understand the priority of prayer in his life. And I'd always heard that Wesley was a person of deep prayer, but when you see the space that he had set aside so that he could begin and end each day with this practice of prayer, it just really made it come alive and helped me understand this tradition that I'd been studying for a long time already at that point.
Man, Brett, I am already, I'm wanting to get on the plane right now because the trip you've just described seems like it is going to be so enriching. We are going to do some things to get folks who will go on this pilgrimage ready. We will have a Zoom meeting sort of to prepare us at least one, maybe two ahead of our departure, and possibly even something on the back end when we return. But there may be some folks who want to begin to prepare themselves even before those first couple of Zoom meetings. What are some ways that folks who are thinking about attending this pilgrimage might prepare themselves spiritually and even intellectually?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the great things about thinking about this as pilgrimage is to begin the practice of prayer. Now, just opening yourself to what is it that God wants to show me during this. And so establishing a regular practice of prayer, even sitting in silence and asking God that question and just seeing how God will shape you through that prayer practice. Some of the other things we can do, Derrick, I certainly have readings that for those who would want to read in advance, I have a whole list of I think some really engaging works on John and Charles Wesley, on the early Methodist movement, on the context of 18th century England at the time when these Methodist communities and societies were emerging. And so that's another way for people who want to engage in that way. But I would just say the most important is to begin with that practice of prayer. And whatever that prayer practice is for you and however you do prayer, if we truly are going to engage this as a pilgrimage, then the first step is just opening ourselves to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Brett. And we will make sure that reading list is available both in the show notes of this podcast and also on laityspace.org so that folks can access that reading list. But you're right, man. Like, beginning with prayer is probably the best thing to do for a heart set on pilgrimage, for sure.
And incredibly Methodist. I mean, I think that's one of the things that we'll learn through this is that these early Methodists were people that didn't just talk about Jesus. They wanted to engage with Jesus, and through regular practices and means of grace, they would come into the presence of God's grace and allow that grace to transform them. And so I think beginning a pilgrimage with that practice is the first step in sort of entering this world of early Methodism and seeing what God wants to do with it today.
Solid. Fantastic. Brett, thank you so much again for saying yes. And we're so looking forward to all that God's going to do, preparing us for the pilgrimage and when we are there with you. We want to move now into more of the practical details of making sure folks who are interested are able to really consider being on this trip. And so this is where I'm so grateful to have James Ridgway from Educational Opportunities with us today as well. James, how are you doing?
Great. How are you, Derrick?
Doing great, man. I'd love for you just quickly to share a little bit about you and your story and how you've come to this specific work at Educational Opportunities. And then we'll talk some of the hardcore details around this particular pilgrimage.
Okay, I can do that. I'm James Ridgway, and I'm the CEO of Educational Opportunities. I am second generation here at EO. So my father started EO 52 years ago. He was, and like Dr. Opalinski, this is an extension ministry assignment for him from the Florida Conference. So, so he was clergy for a long time in Florida before he started this, and we're based in Lakeland. So, also like Dr. Opalinski, came up through First United Methodist Church in Lakeland as well. So, been very blessed to have traveled the world, and we have run Wesley Heritage experiences since the late 1970s. So some of my favorite memory, someone asked me earlier today about recommending a place to eat in Bristol. Sadly, I'm like, the Burger King next to the New Room is just so sentimental to me, because that's where my father and I always went when I was growing up, because my mother liked to shop there in Bristol, and he didn't like to shop. So we went to Burger King and hung out at the New Room. So it's been a really...
James, promise me we're going to do better than that. Promise me it's going to be better.
You're going to do better than that. You're going to do a whole lot better
I don't
than
know,
that.
Bishop. I might have just added to my itinerary the Burger King next to the New Room. I might have. Just saying.
There's a pasty shop not too terribly far from the New Room that's really good too.
Yeah. So no, there's a lot of great eating places in Bristol. Don't worry, you're not stuck at the Burger King. But it's just meant a lot to my family, these Wesley Heritage experiences. Just came back from a month over there. So I've been in Epworth, Oxford, Bristol, and London 3 times in August each. So a place we're very familiar with, and very excited to be working with Bishop Berlin and Dr. Opalinski here. Phenomenal leaders. They've done these type of experiences multiple times. So I can't think of a better leadership team here than what you have.
And we are so excited, James. So let's talk a little bit about what it's going to take to get on this trip. So the layperson who is watching this podcast on YouTube or listening to the audio on Spotify, they're amped up. They've heard the invitation from Bishop Berlin. They've listened to Brett talk about what it's going to be like on this pilgrimage. What do they need to do next?
Well, I think the first step is you're attaching a copy of the brochure or the information to this podcast. So yes. I would certainly go there and look at the brochure with all the details. The dates are September 23rd to October 1st of 2026. And, just study every place you're going. We will be heading up to Epworth first, and then making our way south to Oxford, Bristol, and London. So we're doing this chronologically, which hopefully that helps Dr. Opalinski paint that story, because I think it's really helpful to do it chronologically. So we'll be doing it that way. And we will start and end in London. So if you do, this program, I think beyond any of our other programs, is one where we see more people staying longer or coming earlier because they have other things they want to do in Britain. And so this is a great opportunity to do a little bit on your own, maybe. So we can give you times, okay, everybody meet at Heathrow. The rest of the group is arriving at this time, and, be there in Terminal 2, Terminal 3. and then we will set off. So it'll be round trip London, and then if you're interested in going, it's very easy to sign up online. There's a QR code on this brochure. You can just snap that if you want to do it on an iPad or even on your iPhone, or you can go, if you have a PC, you can go to, we have information here at eo.travel/mytrip, and you just key in the 4 pieces of information. It'll take you right there. And then you literally just sign up, and it's a $300 deposit to register, and you'll be on your way.
So, James, we will have the brochure both in the show notes of this podcast as well as on laityspace.org. It'll be right on the front page. And registration, as you said, is $300. And depending on when someone registers, they also have the opportunity to get a discount from the overall price. So say a person registers by October 23rd, 2025, they can get a $150 per person discount of the overall price. Am I correct in that?
That is correct, Derrick. And if you think about that, if you know you want to go and there's just no reason to wait to sign up, you can achieve that $150 savings. And you're probably going to ask me what additional items are there here, and really just a couple. It's one of those being lunches, and that's probably you'll save enough there to cover all your lunches. So it's a good deal.
Yeah, and let's go ahead and talk a little bit about that. In addition to the price of the trip, which right now it starts at around $4,700, that is the price of the overall trip. Are there other expenses that we need to be thinking about in addition to the specific price of the trip?
Yeah, three expenses really, I think, to consider. One are those lunches, and depending on what you want for lunch, that can range from $10 to $20, I think, is a good range. We also have gratuities to the guide and to the driver. They'll do a phenomenal job for you. We have a lot of great guides and drivers. I know a lot of them personally, so they will do a phenomenal job. So about $10 a day for that to show your appreciation to those two individuals. And then the only other thing, breakfast and dinner are covered every day except in London. I just hate to have somebody eat in a hotel in London. There's so many phenomenal restaurants out there from every cuisine known to man. So you can find it all in London, and it's just a travesty if I feed you dinner in a hotel.
I think a lot of us will appreciate that chance to eat in London and to choose our restaurant there. I think that'll be part of the experience. Back to the $4,700, it can be a bit of sticker shock for some folks. Tell us a little bit of all that is covered in that amount.
Well, that's covering the airfare from both Tampa and Orlando.
It's a big chunk for sure.
Yeah, it covers hotel accommodations, and we will be spending 2 nights in Nottingham at the Delta Hotel there, and then a couple more nights in Swindon at another Delta property, and then we're finishing up in London for 3 nights at the Hilton Kensington. So all 3 nice hotels. That includes all the transportation, coach transportation, the aforementioned guide, and the driver, all the entrance fees, the meeting rooms, and the different events we'll do along the way are all covered. So again, breakfast, dinner daily, except for the dinner in London, those nights. And that gives you time to go out, and if you want to book a show, there's so many things to do in London. So it's just, I don't want to, hem you in there. But so very, very inclusive program outside of those 3 things. And if you do, we do recommend some kind of travel protection for you. So that would be in addition as well.
Thanks for that. Just a few more of the detailed questions, James. I really appreciate you answering them. I'm now thinking about, okay, so I'm going to pay my registration fee. There'll be a discount somewhere in there, depending on when I register. That's a sliding scale around those savings. But I pay my registration fee, and we're getting close, into 2026. I need to pay another sort of deposit or amount on this trip, around $1,800, I believe. And that date, I believe, is like May 31st. And I think that's what the brochure says. And so, and let me know just that I'm tracking correctly. And so I'll pay about up to $1,800, and I can either make it, different payments each month leading up to that amount, or make it all by the May 31st deadline. But I need to make that payment of at least $1,800 by May 31st. Am I correct?
That is correct. The total that we should have at the end of May would be $1,800, no matter how many times you pay us. So, perfect. And then the final payment will be due in July, which will, get you up to that final amount.
So there may be some very specific questions, like around the flights, for instance. I live in Jacksonville. Bishop Berlin is in Lakeland. And so tell us a little bit about how we might want to think about our flights and getting to London.
Well, as I mentioned, the flights are included in the $4,700 figure. And if we need to expand beyond Tampa and Orlando, that is possible. So Derrick, we can take you from Jacksonville. That won't be an issue. And that would be at the same price as Tampa and Orlando. So you're welcome to call us if you have a different place you need to originate from. You can. And if you just want to do your own flights and I'm just going to meet you there, we will reduce the price by $1,050. So that is an option when you sign up online. You can do that, and you can change that at any time, up until we're ready to ticket the group. So if you do decide you just want to do your own thing, that's perfectly fine as well.
James, this has all been just such incredible information, very helpful. Let's say someone, again, has some very specific questions specific to their location or their situation. They've got some specific needs. Is there someone at EO that they can talk to about the details of this pilgrimage?
Well, you're welcome to call us anytime, 8 to 5 p.m. And the best number to reach us at is 1-800-247-0017. I have a team here that can answer just about any question that you can throw at us. And if they can't, they'll find me and I'll get an answer for you. So, and if you want to email us, it's eo@travelwithus.com, and we can respond to you that way as well.
Awesome. And all of those contact details will be in the show notes. Bishop, when we first started talking about this pilgrimage, you said to me, we really want to work with James and EO, that they are the folks who are really going to help us facilitate this pilgrimage. And I just want to thank you for that, Bishop. Anything you want to say in regard to us partnering with EO?
Yeah, just to affirm that, I've taken a number of trips with large groups with educational opportunities. I found James to be highly dependable. The staff is attentive. If there's a problem, you don't want problems, but problems happen with large groups, and they just help you figure it out. And so I'm really confident. And Derrick, when you've got a great travel organization, and then you've got a great resource like Brett, and then you've got a great itinerary, it's a great trip.
Oh, so excited. So as we end this particular segment, Brett, James, I am curious because I have never been on a Wesleyan Heritage Pilgrimage. This will be my first time. And so I've got all kinds of questions, but I'm curious from each of you, what's your favorite site on this pilgrimage? So let me start with Brett and then I'll go to James. Would love to know your favorite site that I should be looking forward to on this pilgrimage.
So that's actually a hard question because I love all of the sites for different reasons, but I will say, I think the one that I love the most, I love going to Oxford. There is something about being in the place where it all started. And, you can walk down that little street where you see the sign on the wall about the early Methodist holy clubs meeting there. And yeah, there's just something about being there in that place that just feels very sacred to me. And so, yeah, and Oxford's just a great town to visit too.
Oh, thanks, Brett. I'm looking forward to it. What do you say, James? What's your favorite site?
Well, I've sort of already committed there to the new room, so just for nostalgic reasons. But the new room survived all of World War II bombing, which was pretty miraculous in and of itself. And just still where it is today, in that commercial center, and what an outreach it was back in Wesley's day and still is today. That's just a very powerful thing to sit and ponder in one of those pews or in one of the booths there. Just a lot of history.
Oh, fantastic. Brett, James, thanks so much for joining us for this webinar. We're going to be right back with a final word from me and Bishop Tomberlin. Bishop, I was already excited about this pilgrimage. After talking with Brett and James, I'm literally ready to get on the flight right now and get over to England. And I'm really excited. I'm excited for so many reasons. The things we're going to experience and the shared learning, the ways that being on those sites, being in the sites, like we will be able to literally envision sort of some of the ministry of John Wesley. And I'm really thankful that Brett's going to help laity see themselves in that story. So Bishop, laity are going to be watching this webinar. They'll be listening to it. What do you say to the laity that might be thinking about this pilgrimage?
Well, friends, I'd remind you that the Methodist movement was a lay movement. It wasn't clergy-centric. It was there were clergy involved, but the laity were really the ones who made it all happen and supported it. We're going to learn that. And I want you to have a great trip. I want you to have a great trip where you're learning, where you're having a spiritual experience, where you're going deeper in your prayer life and seeing the connectivity of our history to our present and to our future. I also want you to have a great time. So if you go on this trip, it's the equivalent of spending 1 year in a small group with a group of people. When you take the contact hours and you total them up, the bus rides, the time in the airport, all that. And what are you doing during that time? You're talking to people, you're getting to know them. A lot of people return with friendships they didn't have before they went. That's the joy of traveling together. Along the way, we're going to have a good time. We're going to eat good meals. We're going to enjoy England. And Derrick and I are charming. Can I just say that for a moment? We are excellent company, and we are going to love being there. And I'm going to do my best in the portions where I'm speaking to really bring something to you that feels like a rich experience. So I'm looking forward to having everybody be a part of this.
Same. I really am looking forward to hosting this with you, Bishop. I am excited of just the collaboration that you and I will have and the ways that we'll be able to lead this alongside Brett. And so to the laity of the Florida Conference, I really want to invite you to consider joining us for this pilgrimage. We have a limited number of spots, so don't want you to wait too long to register. If you've got questions, please reach out to us, to Warren Pattison or I, as well as make use of the great folks at EO who can also help with the logistical questions. But I invite you to be prayerful. This is an investment, yes, an investment in your spiritual life and in your grounding in our Wesleyan heritage. So laity of the Florida Conference, you are officially invited to join us for the Wesleyan Heritage Pilgrimage for Laity, September 23rd through October 1st, 2026. We're looking forward to seeing you there.